So can you think of a company under Black Ambition that you have served that you've been most proud to help?
You can't do that to
I
me.
know, it's just like,
You're recording this, they all 99, all 100 are gonna call me and be like,
or the most, and you don't have to say the name. You actually don't have to say it, but just, where you've seen, where you've poured into that entity, and as well, challenging. There's some experiences that have been challenging.
Okay,
And
I'm gonna speak a little general to not point specifically on the challenging
I want to
part.
set you up. I want to set you up.
Some of the companies that have impressed me, and it's a mix between the 101 that we've invested in, and then we get close to 2,000 applications a year now.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we got almost 3,000 applications this year.
Okay.
And so it's literally become one of the most, I don't want to say challenging, but like, it's really competitive now.
Right.
And so if you make it to the semifinalist round, you're really kind of like one of the top 250 companies across the US.
Wow.
It's that competitive, and the companies are good. So our job is really hard.
Right.
And then if you end up getting an investment, you're the top 30 to 35 companies out of 3,000 companies that applied all across the United States. And so I like, even if you don't win, I'm always like, congratulations, because you made it out in the top of the top of the top in all these different levels. And so the companies that have excited me, there was one company that ended up winning a BA prize, a Black Ambition prize, the year before last, and they were actually not going to win a prize because we had already selected our 30-something companies. Okay. And but then we had a funder come in with enough funding for us to fund 3 or 4 more companies.
Oh, cool.
And so that weekend, me and Jermaine just got on the phone and started re-interviewing a bunch of the companies that were like in that 10 that were close, but they didn't. I'm gonna tell you 2 things that happened. And so one company that didn't make the initial cut, then we got some additional funding, was really pissed off, sent us a crazy ass email. This is why you don't do that, right?
Right, that's not a good idea. You could fly again next year, by the way.
Exactly. This is why you don't do that, because you never know.
Right.
He would have been one of the one that we chose because he had the next highest score.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There was another company in that bucket we were interviewing, and in the interview process, I was like, I really like this company, but she said something that really stuck out, which was she was building this new technology in the prosthetic space, and then COVID happened. She had set up manufacturing, put her own money in, and then COVID happened. So she lost her manufacturing, and she had like all these pre-sale orders ready to go.
Really?
And what she said was, I wasn't going to let that stop me. So I literally set up manufacturing in my living room, and I learned how to produce all of these prosthetics, and was able to get the orders out. I was like, she needs to be a Black Ambition.
she needs some money.
She needs some money, but she needs to be a BA entrepreneur, because that is what a BA entrepreneur is. You don't quit when things get rough or when something doesn't work out. And she was like, I was like, you set this up in your house? And when you understand what the technology is and what she built, that's what just made me like, what?
Right.
And she's gone on to do some really, really phenomenal things, right? And the company's name is VDOM. Logistics, which was our first year Black Ambition prize winner, in the construction SaaS space. So 3rd year in the construction industry. His grandfather, their grandfather started the company. He went to school for tech, worked for the family, then worked for some other tech companies. It lives in Detroit, and was just like, there has to be a better way, or an easier way to solve some of the problems that have faced my grandfather, my father in running this business that technology can solve. And so I love like that kind of generational transition to now there's another way that we can do this. They went from I think even 3 or 4 employees to 34 employees in the first year with their investment from Black Ambition.
Very cool. Very cool.
I was actually sitting right here at the desk when me and Pharrell made the announcement. Like they came on Zoom, and like just everybody bawling, crying, right? And in a lot of ways, that company and Justin and Andre and what they represent are always what I look for in how we're looking for Black Ambition entrepreneurs. There's just something really, really special about those two, what they've been able to build, how fast they've been able to grow their company, how they've raised additional, like significant funding, and more than anything, how they constantly give back to the Black Ambition community.
Very nice.
And the funny thing about Justin, I always tease him, they got their application in the last 30 minutes before the application closed.
So he almost didn't make the cut.
He almost did not make the cut. And so I was like, don't be telling people that. But they almost, he will tell you, he was just like, it was the last 30 minutes, but guess what? They were ready to apply. So they had everything that they needed. They had gone through some other programs that prepped them. So yes, it was the last 30 minutes, but he'll also say like, we were ready to apply in order to be able to get it in on that last day, which is really important too. Like, you know, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Right. Now, are only tech companies able to apply for this? Or is it just almost anybody?
No, not almost everybody. Right. Tech, healthcare, consumer goods and services, media and entertainment, and then AI are the 5 verticals that we invest in.
Okay.
We might potentially be adding like fintech next year as another vertical, but those are 5. Those are the 5.
Okay, cool. Okay, we got some good questions here. Some personal questions, not too personal though, I promise. So are you, with all the success stories, all the things you've experienced, are you ready to say you're successful?
I've been saying I was successful since I was 17 years old.
Okay.
Because I was a C student in high school, and I had a guidance counselor tell me I'd never make it to college or university. Wow. I'm like, look at me now, guidance counselor.
Have you gone back to see her?
Yeah, not intentionally. But she told me I would never make it to a college or a university because of my grades.
Okay.
And proceeded to not help me. And I had a career counselor that actually did help me. She passed away a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
Marissa Fontaine. We were friends up until she passed, because that woman changed my life. And she said something to me at 17 when my high school would just put all the applications out and just go pick it up at lunchtime or not. It was not as fancy as the title of the day was, but it was like these scholarship applications. And I had went there even after my guidance counselor told me I'd never make it to a college or university, because I got a Jamaican mother. I had a Jamaican mother, and my dad is from Cairo, Georgia. If anyone knows where Cairo, y'all know where Cairo, Georgia is?
Right down the street.
Where?
I'm from Thomasville.
Oh, okay. So my family's from Bainbridge, Georgia, and Cairo, Georgia, my dad's side. Derek's family is from Bainbridge, Georgia. I'll have to tell that story another time. But and so my dad left home when he was 15 years old.
Okay.
And moved to Florida and like did Job Corps, did all these things. These are my parents, right? And so I was a slacker, but I was also one of those kids that's like deductive reasoning, like I'm gonna get the same diploma as a National Honor Society student. I can do all these. This was just 17, right? And so she proceeded to not help me. I ended up applying for any scholarship that had no GPA requirement. GPA requirement was really low. Created like this scholarship express pack. Also sounded more sophisticated than it really was. But I just realized that all the applications pretty much asked you for the same thing.
Right.
So if I had my 5 essays, because there were 5 essay questions that they would usually ask. I made a ton of copies of those. So anytime I saw an application, I pulled all these things out the flyer, put that stamp on it, I sent it off. I'd applied for maybe about 100 plus scholarships my senior year. I quit the basketball team. I was the captain of the basketball team. I'm not getting a basketball scholarship.
Right.
No, makes sense, right? I just learned there was more than one pathway to success. I ended up winning $130,000 in scholarships and grants as a C student. And when they awarded me the scholarships at senior awards night, the guidance counselor who told me I'd never make it to a college or university was on the stage smiling to also hand me the check.
Really?
And I was just like, I want to kick you off the stage because you weren't with me shooting in the gym like at all, right?
Give me my money.
And so I learned probably some of the most powerful lessons in my life at 17, that there's more than one pathway to success. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't achieve or do something that deep down in your heart that you know you can. Don't let people do that. And if you give them any agency over your life, they will do that over and over and over again because they're projecting something that is in their life that is not in yours. And like my life at 17 could have been completely different if I would have listened to this woman.
That's true.
And so when I say I'm successful, I've not from an arrogant standpoint, but like I went through a battle that at 17, as a high school student, with a woman whose job it was to guide me, tell me not only that I can't make it to a college or university, that I should try and get a job or vocational school. She didn't even tell me to go to community college, and community colleges got programs for everybody.
Right.
That's how little she thought of me. And this woman did not know me. And so every step of the way, it has been some instance, some circumstance like that, where it's like, I don't really have all the things, but I got creativity, I can figure out some resources. If I can find the right people, I can make it happen. And that was our entrepreneurial journey, right? Like we built a company in my parents' backyard that had Google and PayPal and Forever 21 and Cadillac, like a Fortune 500 client roster that would absolutely make your head spin.
Right.
Like we built that in my parents' backyard with 2 carts we bought off of Craigslist, right? We got almost $1 million investment into that business from the second largest mall company in the world. And so every step of the way, although that was an absolute nightmare, every step of the way, it taught me some powerful lessons. If you just get creative and don't ever let anybody tell you no. And so I went back to speak to my old high school years ago, and I always tell the story about the guidance counselor because I got to tell the story because.
And what she did was the guidance counselor. Was the guidance
so
counselor?
The guidance counselor was there in the audience, right? And I didn't know it. And the assistant principal that invited me, her name is Miss Roundtree. I'm gonna call her name out because she's real messy, right? And so she like put 2 and 2 together. She's like, oh, let me take you on a tour of the campus, Felecia. So we got in the golf cart. Y'all, the first stop we went to was, the woman's name is Miss Land, I think her name was Miss Landacker. Let me not say the name because I don't remember. Yeah. But the guidance counselor who told me, that was the first stop that Miss Roundtree stopped at in her golf cart. That was messy, right? She knew what she was doing.
She knew.
And so the guidance counselor was just like, were you talking about me? I was just like, yes. And she was like, first she was like, I don't remember saying that to you. And then she was just
of course you don't.
Of course you don't. Because when people hurt you, they never remember what they walk on.
Yeah.
It shapes and reshapes the rest of your life. And then it was interesting because then we were having a conversation, and then I found myself realizing that if she never doubted me, I may have never pushed as hard either.
Right.
So
it could have gone either way.
Sometimes there's a gift in that, right? But moreover, she's still a guidance counselor.
Yeah.
For years, and she's probably still telling black
young
kids,
people.
Young people, but especially black kids, that you're never gonna make it. And I hope she uses my story to never do that again. But I don't know if I have that much faith in
especially by the time you went back. You know, we're going to open up the floor for you all to ask a question. Is there anyone who would like to ask Felecia a question? I knew it. There you go. Wait, tell us your name first.
Hi, my name is Zuri, and I'm from Miami.
Hey, Zuri.
And I was wondering, what is some advice that you would give to your younger self that would help you more to get to where you are now?
How old are you, by the way?
11.
Oh, my daughter's Ori, and she's 10. She'll be 11 next month. And so my advice that I give my younger self is every day I'm talking to her. She doesn't always listen to her mom. what advice would I give my younger self? I would say definitely don't listen to the naysayers. I told y'all that story. It would be that. It would be don't sign up for that Discovery credit card your first year of college.
Everybody knows that one, right?
That thing ruined my credit for years.
Oh, that's funny.
It would probably just be those two things like that. And just believe in yourself. I was a really, really shy kid. And when I was your age, even into college, I didn't really start finding my voice until I was in college, going to spoken word poetry in Miami. Mm-hmm. I would drive my Kia from Delray Beach all the way to North Miami and go to this place called Literary Cafe. Mm-hmm. Y'all know Literary Cafe? That's where I found my voice. And so most people don't believe that I was really shy, to the point where I would show up places, but I would not say a word. And Will the Real One, who was murdered, was a dear friend of mine and had this ability to pull your true self out of you and really kind of shed your shell. And at some point, going there every single night, you eventually got on stage. And when you finally got on stage, rattling, but you would get up every single Saturday, then you didn't rattle anymore. Mm-hmm. And then you fully understood like the power in your voice, tonality, work in the room. I learned all of these things in North Miami. Every Saturday, religiously, I would drive an hour there and an hour back. And those would be the things that I would say of know the power in your voice.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So I'm going to bring my question into recent news. We heard about the Fearless Fund and the behavior that now most organizations are taking with regards to DEI. How does this impact the direction that the ambition now has to take when you are specifically targeting Black, Hispanic, and the brown communities?
Whew. Okay. I will say as much as I can, because we do have to change the scope. Well, let me say, we don't have to change the scope. We have to broaden the scope so that we're not sued, right? And so the Fearless Fund lawsuit, what it boiled down to was business contracts, and that you cannot enter a business contract based on race is what it essentially boiled down to. We enter business contracts with one of the criteria, race. And so we do have to expand our scope. We don't have to change much about what we're doing, but we do have to open it up, or our attorneys have advised us to at least add one other kind of cultural, racial criteria to it. And so we're working through that right now. We haven't changed it, but we will be making the change going into the fifth year of the prize.
And I'm Terrence with the Black Collectors Gallery and Black Policing Courthouse. It's I have a lot to say about that issue, but it's also a Miami issue, because the lower courts that decided on that was here in Miami. So much more people should be at arms, and it's affecting way more funding and opportunities than you realize.
Okay.
And so some of your largest foundations here in Miami have had to make changes. People don't know that. They're not really talking about it. I think they should talk about it, because I think the only way you combat something like that is you need bigger companies, bigger organizations with bigger budgets, with a team of lawyers to hold the line and say we're not changing things.
Exactly.
And if they aren't setting the example, what little organization is supposed to do?
Correct. I agree.
And so I think that there's a responsibility on that side that needs to be addressed as well, that we're not really seeing.
Do you think there will be a major impact once this becomes official? I think we think in some cases that we're now equal. We're now still, we have the same amount of opportunities. We're better. I'll own we're better. But I think with Barack Obama being the president, now you have the same dreams and opportunity as everyone else. So do you think that will now impact what we've done to really invest in these businesses?
No, it's gonna get worse. It's already getting worse.
Okay.
And so you've seen venture capital for Black entrepreneurs dry up by 56, I think 54 or 56% in the last year.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
Right.
And what people aren't really talking about, and my friend here is an attorney, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. So after the murder of George Floyd, major corporations verbally committed 340, not million, billion dollars to Black communities. Not just entrepreneurship, housing, infrastructure, small business support, education, $340 billion. And if you don't believe me, McKinsey literally tracked the money. So it's a McKinsey study that said it's $340 billion. They have allocated, dispersed less than 1% of that.
I've heard that a lot of people are not.
Less than 1%. And so guess what? We're not asking for anything more than what was already verbally committed. And imagine what $340 billion flooding our communities would do. You would see and feel that. You would. But guess what? If companies don't want to deploy that money,
They don't have to.
if they don't want to if they don't want to have to disperse it, one, people aren't calling them out as much as they should. But then two, if you change policy, it becomes illegal for you to give out that money that you originally verbally committed.
Right. Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is what is happening. That is what you're seeing, right? And it's not just the Fearless Fund. It is, you're seeing these things happen with affirmative action in our schools. Of course, you're seeing the banning of books and the changing of curriculum here. You are also seeing, like, even the Fearless Fund fight, and I'm speaking on based off of what I know and experience. I know it's way more, not the experience, but what I've seen. But that's also, it was an entry point into being able to corporations more than anything, right? And so, like, there's all these bigger things at play, but they have a level of patience about this, because Edward Blum has been doing this for, I think, either 20 or 30 years. He's been etching at it, filing lawsuits all over the place, and he's now picking up steam like ever before. And so that's the reality, but it's already really, really tough for entrepreneurs to raise capital. It's going to get harder because a lot of corporations that have, like, I'm literally seeing it, right? Like, we're applying for stuff, funding is like, oh, well, because of how you guys describe your work, you don't even qualify. It's not even like, hey, if you open up, you're not even getting that in the door, which is very fair to say. It's just like, oh no, nah, we can't. That is happening at a rapid pace.
So,
I think,
who's next? I guess. So, I got 5 minutes. Metro Spence, president of Mindfulness Club, also the executive director of the Hotel Business Association, which is the school's main designation. My question, or asking specifically to the Old Town Business Tour, it's been gentrified land-wise, gentrified healthcare-wise. The last thing that we have is the Villatard story. With all of these other entrepreneurs, small business capacity building entities coming into the community, how do we clearly, collectively explain to them that it's the money that building any more training, any more technical experience? And what do we say collectively to the funders that come in that do data collection and write more grants and get more funding, and it never trickles down to us? What could we do to
Yeah. So you hit something right on the head. It's the storytelling. And using every mechanism, platform possible to literally call them out and hold them accountable. That is what you do. That is as much as possible because they don't want that. But if we remain silent in the experience, or if we remain silent in how they're building their programs, you still lose, right? And so, my business partner, old business partner, we're still friends, but that helped co-found this. Y'all know Laundress Starks. I learned some of the biggest lessons about calling people out and using your megaphone, whatever platform that you have, to hold people accountable. And so we all literally have the same power in our phones, and you gotta use it.
Right? I think the like that would be it. And so whether you're speaking on a panel, you're speaking at an event, they're hosting an event, and literally show up and ask questions. It's not that we don't need mentorship. We still need mentorship. We need real mentorship. Because what happened, and what I saw, and then I've also experienced, and we experienced this when we were running Black Tech Week. We would get people that oftentimes didn't look like us, would volunteer to speak at Black Tech Week, would make all these promises on the stage that they're gonna take an investor meeting in office hours, like all of these things, and then would ghost our entrepreneurs. They would ghost the people in the audience. You would never hear from them again.
Right.
But they got their video that they filmed at Black Tech Week, so from a D&I standpoint, they look like they are down.
You're right.
And it really started to bother me because then I knew we weren't complicit in it, but like I couldn't shake that we were giving them a platform and then they were not investing in people.
Right.
They weren't even picking up the phone to call back, right? And so with Black Ambition, I was like, none of that is happening here. So we had to restructure how we evaluate our mentors, how we do bias training with our mentors, like everything, and then who we ask to actually mentor, because I get frustrated that if you are someone that's supposed to mentor, and I give this example all the time, and you're gonna give me advice and say, fix this on your deck, fix that, but you know that I'm trying to get into Walmart with my product, and you play golf with the guy
And Walmart.
the buyer at Walmart every month, and you've never picked up and you told me you believed in my product,
Right.
but you never pick up the phone.
And say, this is,
Because it's
I
just
agree.
a phone call.
I agree.
It literally is just a phone call. Then why are you mentoring? Because you don't believe. And the thing that I need the most is to conflate time.
Yeah,
Like,
yes.
why would you see me running around for 2 years, knocking on the door of Walmart when you can pick up the phone in 2 seconds
And make a phone
and
call.
make a phone call?
I agree.
And so in Black Ambition, I have seen that. My first year was a really hard year for me, but because I kept seeing it over and over again for their friends and their buddies, and I'm just like, but I got all these entrepreneurs here that need the exact same level of trust that you are exhibiting and providing over here. You
But
just
not
gotta
really
pick up the
doing
phone. So what I start asking them is, hey, if you decided to build another company, who would be the first 5 people you would call to ask for money for this thing? And it's a question that is out of left field, so they're not media trained or anything. And then they'll rattle off like, man, I'll call my buddy that is with Andreessen, I'll call, my sister, she just sold her company, I'll call this. I was like, great.
We're going to call all those
I need you
people.
to call those same 5 people for these 5 entrepreneurs. What they gonna say now?
That's true.
Because if you're gonna call it for yourself, call it for them.
Right.
And if they're not willing to do that, move on.
Right.
And so that was a hard lesson to personally learn, but it's like, that's how you start holding people accountable, right? Of just like, who are you gonna pick up the phone and call
Right. Right.
immediately?
Do we have one more question? Yes, right here.
Hi, pleasure to speak. My name is Milka.
Hey, Milka.
So my question is, how do I stop being a people pleaser towards my father. Quick background, I am Haitian American, so my parents, they don't believe in entrepreneurship at all. I just started my business, Baked Goods, and my dad is looking at me crazy, my mom is looking at me crazy as well. They're like, why don't you go back to school, finish up your bachelor's? So I've been, I was going back to school, into nursing, pre-medicine, etc. It just never worked out for me at all. I even worked at a health tech startup, but I got laid off, which transitioned me into starting this business. However, my dad's been crushing my dreams. It's been affecting me emotionally. Doing my best to keep pushing, keep having faith. But how do I continue to believe in my vision and to stop pleasing my father?
Believe in your vision and stop pleasing your father. Your dad is not going to stop nagging you until you show him something that is on the same level in which his expectations were. And I know that from experience, right? And so you said you didn't finish college. I didn't finish college. I went to college for 4 years. I left my senior year because I had started a business, educational consulting. I was teaching people how to get scholarships with less than stellar grades. My mom actually pushed me to start, or encouraged me to start the business. And then the business grew so big, I was just like, I got a big grant and I needed to dedicate it full time. And I went to my parents, I was just like, if you just let me take off a semester, it was my last semester, I will make sure I go back and I finish. My mom has more degrees than anybody in my family, right? She has her PhD. My dad dropped out of college his last year. I dropped out my senior year, my brother dropped out. I'm gonna try and tell this story really quick. And so I left, right? Started this business. A year into starting the business, one of my employees stole the contract from me, and I closed the business devastated. Never, ever, ever wanted to be an entrepreneur ever again in my life. So I sometimes laugh about being an entrepreneur now, right? Never wanted to, because it was so devastating, because I had to go back to my parents and be like, this business failed. Right. And you gave me faith. And so I spent the rest of my life proving to them that I made the right decision. And so I'm telling that to you. And so years later, Feverish had got up and running. We had the store, we had like all these things going. I won this Entrepreneur of the Year award, right? I invited my parents to come. When we got back to my parents' house, my mom took her PhD off the wall and put my plaque.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's sweet.
Right? But in the interim of that, my mom would tell me, if you just finish college, if you go back to college, just finish, just get married and have some kids, I would be proud of you. These are the things that my mom says to me. I retired my mom 2 years ago.
Oh,
we
nice.
travel all the time together. But this is a woman who birthed me, but she had a vision for me that was not the vision that I had for myself. But moreover, I had to prove her wrong. And so I'm telling you this, that is going to be hard for you until you do something that is equal to what his expectations are. But I'm gonna also tell you this, is do not let your parents drive you to exhaustion. Because the other thing that came out of that is every single thing and decision that I made, in my mind I was like, am I enough? Or is this enough to finally make my mom happy? Right? And she's, my mom is happy and all get out now. She can't tell me nothing, right?
You made it.
But it was a hard journey, and I understand 110% where she was coming from, because she could not see the vision. You gotta see the vision. And your parents are they're gonna say that because they want you to have insurance, they want you to take care of yourself, they want you to be comfortable because they know what the journey is ahead. They know it's hard. So they mean it not from a malicious place, they mean it from a sense of care for you. But their vision and your vision are not aligned. And so find a circle of people that you can borrow their belief in you until it becomes your own, and it drowns out your dad.
That's good.
I would listen to Lisa Nichols, Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins. I would literally put it in my headphones and as loud as healthy possible, and it would drown out every negative thought, every negative thing, and not just from my mother, but from other people around me too. I never got that from my dad because my dad dropped out of college to go build his business, and it's a successful business. So he always rode for me, but my mom didn't see it. She's not an entrepreneur, but she was the person in the family that had the full-time job. So when my dad's business was struggling, she had the insurance. You understand what I'm saying? I'm telling y'all that because I had a very funny conversation with my mom today. My brother just got named today Time 100 magazine's most influential people in AI. Right?
I saw that today, right? It came
And
through.
so we were having this. What I'm telling you, we were having that conversation with my mom because I'm like, Mom, like, how you feel having two kids that both chose different paths in what you wanted, and your son just got listed as one of the top people in the world for AI, right? And I have my own path and my own success. And she said, I still wish I would have went to college. Or finished college. I still wish. And it was a whole thing. She was being facetious, right? But it took her a really long time to understand that. I was like, Mom, you should write a book on like how to raise kids that are successful even if they drop out of college. She's like, no, it's gonna tell people to drop out of college. I was like, no, Mom, it's going to help parents that have kids that path is not for them. To still figure out how to support their kids, how to affirm their kids, and then be able to like share in the success. Because college is not for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
I hated college. I worked at, I used to work at 99 Jam, so I would drive or Hot 105 at the time, from Lynn University all the way to Hollywood, where the station was at 5 o'clock in the morning. Because my dad and James T were friends and he got me that internship, right? That was 3 days a week. I would do that. I would leave my college. I was a communications major. And they were doing things in the radio station that's not what was in them textbooks.
Right. Right.
And I remember getting into an argument with my professor when she was like, well, this is the way they do something in radio. But Mama, I was just in the radio station this morning.
They didn't do that.
They don't do it like that. They've never done it like that. And like, it was just the weirdest argument because I'm like, woman, professor.
I'm living it.
I'm living it. I did 5 internships when I was in college, right? So like, I'm a kinesthetic learner. I don't like the traditional college or classroom environment, but I read more than most people do, right? And I'm an insatiable learner. And so when you realize all these characteristics around you, you realize that you don't fit into the normal box. So stop trying to fit into a box that was never meant for you. And so hopefully, thank you for sharing that, but like your journey sounds like my journey. Right? And it was a longer path, and it may be harder because every step that you go, you're gonna be met with, well, you don't have a degree. And so you're constantly gonna have to prove to people your worth and I hate to say prove your worth, but prove your value. And so you just constantly think, this is how I prove my value. And because I had so much experience of that in my 20s, and now in your 30s and 40s, people don't ask for that anymore, right? But knowing how to communicate your value is what has helped me in every stage of life of entrepreneurship, and now this massive rocket ship that I'm building with Black Ambition in support of entrepreneurs like you, right? And so hopefully that was helpful. But
You feeling inspired now, right? Good. So before we go, can you tell everyone how they can connect with Black Ambition?
Sure. Black Ambition at blackambitionprize.com is the website. Also the social media handle on all things. And then I'm at Felecia Hatcher on literally everything because it's easy for me to remember. So,
So ladies and gentlemen, can we please thank Felecia Hatcher for coming out? Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
yeah, before we stop, can we please give Stephanie a
Thank you.
the role that that storytellers play in one, just from generations of us as people, but moreover, storytellers that play in this community. Like I went down a deep dive into your content for the past 3 years. The episodes are phenomenal.
Oh, good.
So this weekend, go watch it, go share
Please.
it. Because when you need to get news out, she's always been the person that we've been able to come to and say, can you put this in the newsletter? And she says, absolutely, because she has an insatiable desire for people to get the information and get the resources as much as possible and as accessible as possible. And then just the way that you've told the stories of so many dope entrepreneurs that I get to admire from near and afar. Like, if you just need to drown out the negativity, go watch some of those stories in that podcast. It's really, really good.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Thank y'all, everybody. We'll come back again really soon. Thanks so much. Thank you so much.